You wake up as President of the United States. What would you do? Fix that fucking pothole at the end of my block. I'd take a week to binge classified documents, then I would resign. Quit. I can't deal with that stress. Go pee. I almost always have to pee when I wake up. Marvel at the epic bender I must have just been on, to not remember an entire political campaign. Require the yellow lane dividing lines on the road be painted with glow-in-the-dark paint. Give away millions of peaches for free. Look out. I would tell everyone to execute Order 66. Announce that Scientology has lost its tax-exempt status. Wonder how I crossed an ocean in my sleep. Hit the snooze button 2 or 3 times. Awake, dreading having to get up. Have sexual intercourse with that woman. Fall back asleep. I would eat the Constitution. Therefore I would have the ability to channel the power of the Founding Fathers. Resign and enjoy the retirement pay for the rest of my life. Attack Switzerland. Learn all the top secret, most classified stuff. Then write bits of it to tabloids until the tabloids are so wildly unbelievable that no one will believe when they're printing 100% true facts. Panic. Ask Reddit what they would do. Find out if we've had any contact with aliens, what happened to Epstein, and exactly how much does the government track its citizens. Panic and then resign. Nobody needs me being the president. People of Reddit, what's the worst thing that's happened on your job? Serious. I'm a jazz, classical pianist. One time, while playing at a pretty high-end cocktail bar, I notice an older man collapse at his table out of the corner in my eye. He was sitting alone, and either very few people noticed, or no one cared. Either way, nobody made a scene. I ended up speaking into the mic. Do we have a doctor on the floor? One woman came up thinking something was wrong with me, and I pointed her to the other section where the man was sitting. At this point staff was gathering around. Later found out he had a heart attack, and was okay. Crazy to me that he was in a crowded venue and no other patrons paid enough attention to get him some help. Edit. Thanks for the awards guys, haha, this really blew up. My brother and I owned a restaurant together for 7 years. One night a lady came up to pay her bill. My brother was helping her while I was standing next to him making small talk as we did with all our regulars. Out of the blue she says she is so sorry, and then before she could cover her mouth fully projectile vomited through her fingers into my brother's mouth and on his face. I let out a "Jesus fucking Christ" and ran to the hills while my brother was screaming a bunch of "oh no, oh no, no 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 no's." He ran into the kitchen and started pouring soap into his mouth. He still gags if I bring up that story. We had 3 people die on one job site. 1 fall and 2 confined space deaths. Edit. This was in 2008 in Idaho. We were working hazmat at an acid plant turnaround. The confined space deaths were from asphyxiation. One went in a tank to see how dirty it was and he collapsed. The other guy he was with went in to rescue him, he also went down. They were not permitted to enter the tank yet. The fall was from the top of a platform where the safety rails had been removed. He took a 70-foot header. It's a sound you never forget. I work at a high school and a student pulled a gun on one of the teachers in the parking lot after school and made her give him the underwear she had on. He was caught later that day and said he did that because she is hot and wanted to use them to masturbate with. It's not as dramatic, but we were interviewing for a position once and the candidate's husband called to say she'd been killed in an accident on her way to the interview. He actually apologized. It was awful. I'm a nanny. The first child I was ever a nanny for was molested on a family vacation by her aunt and uncle. It was heartbreaking. They let me know pretty much as soon as they got back. I informed them that I definitely wasn't qualified to deal with it. I was only 18 and really had no idea how to deal with it. I stayed though. They told me I was one of 3 people in her life that she completely trusted, and both they and her really needed me. Air traffic control. Didn't happen to me, but I was working that day and heard the replay. Couple takes off in bad weather and get more ice on their wings than they can handle. They dropped like a rock and screamed on frequency the whole way down. The worst part is the other planes may or may not have heard it, and you have to keep talking to other planes like nothing happened until someone relieves you. Colleague was absent from work for a couple days and wasn't answering their phone, so manager and I went to their home. The building manager gave us a key to their apartment, totally illegal of them, I know, and we opened it to find the colleague dead. Already at the door, I could smell something sickly sweet and I knew in my heart they were dead. We had to wait for the ambulance service to come declare them dead. Turns out they were sick for days and didn't contact a doctor or anyone else. Just slowly wasted away at home. I will never forget that first look into the apartment. Had a guy have a massive heart attack between two furnaces in Remilt department. It cooked him. His skin split like a hot dog on the grill. It was terrible. Also had a guy that had a air pocket in a molten pot. When the air pocket reached the surface it blew out and rained molten metal him. We had to chase him down to get him in the safety shower. Same place had a guy commit suicide in the parking lot because his wife was cheating with someone on her shift. Not on the scale as everyone else. I was a waitress years ago and someone placed a metal wine cooler on top of a cupboard. When I opened the cupboard, the cooler fell on my forehead and split open between my eyes. I didn't realize it was bleeding until I went out to serve someone and they were like, "Are you okay? Your head is bleeding." And then I said, "What do you want to eat?" And he said, "I'm not hungry anymore." One co-worker stabbed another to death with a letter opener. He fled the building, but was arrested later that day. As I heard later, his wife cheated on him with that co-worker. It was in my first week on the job, so I didn't really knew either of them. The company offered trauma counseling, but it was not needed for me. I used to work in low-volt integration, wiring smart homes. Being the lead pre-wire technician, I was in charge of all pre-wire installations unless a more experienced tech was on scene. Being just 23–24 at the time of employment, I was the one to usually go into crawlspaces and attics since most of the older guys didn't want to do it. Over a year and a half working there, I've been bitten by 2 brown recluse spiders and 1 black widow spider. I still have a scar of one of the brown recluse spiders who bit me on my side. Luckily it was just my side that got bit and I am a healthy young adult. Otherwise I could have lost something. The brown recluse has no anti-venom in the entire United States. My manager and a shift lead got in a fight. Manager wanted the lead to help her but he was busy and was yelling for her to shut up. Then she threatened to call the cops if he didn't leave because he was being aggressive. He said he didn't care. She called the cops. They came in to get him to leave but they found out he actually had a warrant, so they had to take him in. It was intense. He always had meth on him which he smoked in the shed and also would smoke joints in the break room. Lol. First job minor league baseball. We had someone fall out of a luxury suite on the 2nd level. He broke his neck, a few other bones and had to be airlifted out. On impact he also managed to injure 2 other people. Second job different minor league team. Had a catcher get a career-ending concussion trying to stop a batter from attacking his pitcher with the bat after a few inside pitches. Current job had the sales manager convince half the company that he was actually the owner and nearly drive the company out of business trying to take control of it. Had someone jump off the roof on a very windy day. He was actually blown around the corner of the building to another roof where he promptly broke both of his legs. Now no one's allowed on the roof anymore. Was used for smoking and cool downs, and you can still see the dent in the roof from where he hit. Work as a nurse in an ICU. 2 of my coworkers found out while on shift that they were with the same guy. Proceeded to physically fight each other in the hallway. Meanwhile there is a patient coding in cardiac arrest down the hallway. And I'm not embellishing. Another patient's family set the trash can on fire in their room during the code. It was a wild night shift. A lady left her young kids in a bookstore where I worked. It was a big store and sort of crowded and labyrinthine and the children's section was full of toys. She would go to her car at first to smoke cigarettes. The assistant manager spoke to her about it so she sort of figured out his schedule and didn't do it when he was there. She eventually started staying gone for longer and longer. One night it was time to close and when a coworker went to tidy the bathrooms there were the 3 kids. The oldest was reading to the 2 little ones. The cops found her sitting in her car at the mall. Just sitting there. Read my memoirs in a few years, it'll be a collection of horrible things that happened at various jobs. Hard to quantify since there are so many factors that go into the worst. But, if I had to pick a quick one, I got notified that someone was cut in half on a system I designed several years prior. I felt sick to my stomach. How could this happen? Well, the guy willfully bypassed several safety devices and super-manned into the system while it was running. Since I had all of the risk assessments in order and all risks properly mitigated according to I-significant other 13,849, it was determined to be a willful circumvention of an otherwise safe system. However, knowing that something I worked on essentially killed somebody, not a great feeling. Not sure if this qualifies, but I'll say it anyway. I worked at a Dillard's in a mall. There were multiple violent protests throughout the mall hallways. We like halfway shut the doors and had security. who were also actual city police officers, stand by. There was a shooting over the newest pair of Jordans, didn't lock up, just kept working. A shooting in the food court over IDK what? Another shooting in the mall close to our actual store. Again don't know what it was over. Even weirder, we just kinda continued on with work and waited to hear the gossip later. I worked at a Barnes & Noble in Florida and some dude came in with a bunch of Polaroids of his junk and hid them in books in the kids area. A kid found one and showed his mom. We had to close down for the rest of the day and leaf through, shake out all the books in the store to find the rest of them.